Welcome back to the Film Alchemist podcast, the show where we take the movies we love, break them apart, to find out what gives them their magic. I'm your host, Josh Griffey, joined as always by my friend, co-host, and the Twed Pirate Wabots,
Alex Dandino.
All right, before today's exciting episode, I bet you already know what we're talking about. A little bit of business, people. It's official. We are on Patreon. That's right, patreon.com/FilmAlchemistPod. We have a massive library of Patreon exclusive episodes over there for you. So if you like the show,
over
tons
400
of good stuff
episodes
over there for you. That's in totality. We don't have 400 Patreon exclusive episodes. But at the rate we go, I'm sure we soon will, because we like to hurt ourselves with
Can't we just
work.
say we do, and, we'll get there.
I think that's false advertising. We don't want to get sued for threes of dollars. We have a Patreon exclusive library. You get a vote on the movies you want to fill said library. We have some special projects that might be appearing on Patreon later this year. Right now, we have our first miniseries, a complete coverage of the Tales from the Crypt series that will culminate in the Tales from the Crypt films, which I'm sure we all love. So it's a great place to be over there. You go over, meet our friends. Again, that's patreon.com/FilmAlchemistPod. We truly appreciate those of you who support the show. Thank you. You know you mean the world to us. For those of you who are about to, thank you as well. The YouTube Film Alchemist, the email filmalchemistpod@gmail.com. We're on the socials. We're cool. We're hip. We do shit. We slide into DMs. You slide into our DMs. We'll grease the slide for you to go into our DMs. Wow. Moving on. I saw Alex's face. Moving on. Also, leave 5-star ratings and reviews wherever you slide pods into your ear, your greased ears.
Jesus Christ.
I am a creature of the night, as they say, but we got up early to sprinkle some magic over the podcast landscape today. February. The month of amore. The month of amore. The month of getting it in. The month of long hugs.
Month of sliding into those DMs.
Yeah, the month of net kisses, wondering if it's going to go up or down, right? The month of amour.
Quite a question.
Yeah. The month of, how long have I been married to this lady? You know, that kind of stuff. That's what we're doing this month. So every February, the month of amour, we pick a theme. This month, the pod tells a love story, right? Pod shares a love story. These are movies about epic remembrances of love, right? A grandiose story talking about how much about one person means to you. So that's what we're doing, right? So up first, probably the greatest film of this genre. One of the truly greatest films ever. A film that I've actually liked more as I've gotten older than I did as a child.
Same.
The Princess Bride. I saw this movie first because, like many people my age, right? I was fanatically obsessed with Andre the Giant. Everything about he was a real-life living superhero to my mind. Everything about him was the best. I remember not being able to watch, but listening to a radio broadcast of some guy describing WrestleMania 3, right? Because my dad could at least find that, I guess. We couldn't afford WrestleMania, but he found some guy who's like, just listen to this guy talk about it on the radio. I don't know. It was very strange times back then. I seem to have that memory of my grandma's old-ass house listening to Andre get slammed and crying. But I loved Andre. Everything about him. To this day, I'm still fascinated by Andre. So that's how I came to Princess Bride. You know, we were at the video store, and one of my parents, my mom or dad, were like, "Hey, Andre the Giant's." I was like, "What? Get it now!" And as a young kid, it didn't quite sit on me, right? It's funny because the theme of the movie is a grandfather passing on this fantasy love tale to a grandchild, right? A child who I was viciously mocked as a child, saying I looked like Fred Savage. People just used to call me Wonder Years, right? When I was little, I looked exactly like that.
I've seen pictures of you as a young lad, and I'd say maybe just the hair, but
it was 100% just the hair. But it's funny, rewatching it today, I was like, my son looks like fucking Fred Savage. Neither here nor there. So this movie was kind of omnipresent, but it was a little too saccharine for me as a boy. But as I got older, the magic of this film, it just imbues me with the will to conquer the day, right? To go out and say as you wish to the people of my life. So, Alex, opening thoughts on this wonderful, magical film.
Yeah, I don't have a very clear recollection of when I first saw this movie. It was definitely when I was young, and it was definitely a movie that my mother wanted me to watch because it's So, this is something my mom liked this movie, but I do not remember the first time I saw this. It was probably at a collection of children, like a cousin event or something like that. Yeah, it's timeless. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, it really is just, and it's not just because like, oh, like everybody has a love story. It's timeless because things in this movie never stop being entertaining. Like, there is nothing about this that has aged poorly. Like, there's nothing, like, because how many times have we watched movies for this show we're like, boy, was that movie made in the 90s? Like, this movie was made...
Yeah, maybe the Dread Pirate Roberts winding up that imaginary backhand. That's probably
not great. But
I don't think it was gonna fly. But that was a moment where I was like, oh damn! Every time I watch it, I'm like, I forgot about that part.
Yeah. But like everything about this movie, from the story itself to the casting of the actors, like everything about it is so wonderful. And again, like I don't know anybody who has. I don't know anyone who's necessarily superseded in this sort of like, the way it's framed, like the grandpa reading to the grandson. That is a beautiful, timeless moment. I don't know if anybody else saw that, but like during the pandemic when they did like scene by scene, anyone, like basically a bunch of celebrities for charity took scenes and recorded them in their house. Mm-hmm. The last one was Rob Reiner. That killed
his
me.
Dad,
man.
Yeah, and Carl.
Because that was like 2 days. Like it came out like 2 days after Carl died.
Fuck.
But I was just like, oh, that one hurt.
In this one, it's still very present, right? Because I think those of us who are parents now, right, we are very aware of the war against the screen, the battle for attention with our children, right? Of how do we pass on things that we think are important or have good meaning when we are competing against obnoxiously loud teenagers on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how do we compete against the totality of, YouTube children that are speaking directly to them, right? And is that okay? Is it bad? So when, the kid's just like, tell grandpa I'm sick. I don't want to hang out. I want to watch TV all day or play video games, whatever the fuck he was doing.
The LecoVision, yeah.
Yeah, and grandpa, he's playing that fucking football game. That's right. And grandpa just kind of slides in, right? And he's like, I believe this tale will win you over.
Yeah.
And that's something I deal with a lot, right? I try to always show the kids the stuff that meant a lot to me as a kid because, like we talked about a couple times on the pod last month, we are the first generation that didn't let go of our childish things, right, when we became adults and men. So it's still very connected and important to us, right? So I'm like, you got to watch Thundercats. And my kids are like, hey. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean, eh? And then, but that's because it doesn't have these epic, perfect qualities of this story, right? But the transition of the kid... Grandpa, is this kissing stuff gross? All right, read one more chapter. Watching that evolve. Watching the grandpa just kind of play with him, right? Like in this loving way. Like, I know that you love this story. It's some of the sweetest. And Peter Falk, that last shot of Peter Falk, man.
What's interesting? I'll say this. I know Peter Falk is for everybody Columbo. Like, that is who Peter Falk is in everybody's brain. Peter Falk is the grandpa for me. Like, that was the first time I ever saw Peter Falk.
Columbo was like a background thing to me. Like, we would make jokes about it, right? Like, I made more jokes about Columbo than I saw episodes of Columbo, right? I was a Matlock kid and a Murder, She Wrote kid.
Right.
But, I saw some Columbo. It's fine. I always remember him from this movie.
Yeah, this is how I remember Peter Falk.
He's so fucking charming and perfect. He's the quintessential grandpa that we all wished we had.
Yeah.
Right? It's lovely. And then as he just leaves that as you wish moment, right?
As you wish.
It's the fucking greatest, right? Maybe you can come back and read it again to me tomorrow, Grandpa. I mean, that hits you on so many levels.
Yeah.
Right? Like, one, not even just in the story, but just in life. Like, man, I wish my kids wanted me like that, right? I hope I can do that to my kid. Like, I was reading a book to my kid the other night. And I was like, man, I've read this stupid fucking story to him.
Yeah.
Like 100 times, but he loves it. And in my mind, I was like, man, someday I hope I live long enough. I hope I can slow down my fucking recreational habits long enough to read that to a grandkid. Like, that would be a wildly awesome movie, right? Like, I hope I live long enough to, like, watch Harold and Maude with a grandkid, right? Like, stuff like that.
Yeah. There is this thing right now.
It's awesome.
There is this thing right now that my kid, like, kicks me out of the room when it's bedtime because he wants his mom to read him stories and stuff.
Oh, that happened to me for years, dude.
Which
I'm back
hurts,
though. I'm back.
But like that's like this thing now is I'm like, man, I really want. And I hear Andrea like reading to it because I just come downstairs and like clean up the mess of toys that he's made for the day, and like I hear Andrea reading the stories and stuff. I'm like, God damn it, I want to be up there. So
you're like, she's not doing the voices right.
Well, dude, that was the thing. Is like I read
there is this kid's book called "Don't Push the Button," right? It's the dumbest fucking kid's book. I might have got that for you when you had a kid because I was like, this will work for you. Trust me. But every page, there's like an interaction. Do this. Don't press the button. And if you do, something happens. And so you make their little sausage hands, press the button. Then you like, shake the book and make sounds. And I never forget the first time I heard Amy reading it. She did no sounds, no voices. She didn't shake the book or the bed. And I was like, actually, like, I was like, we need a divorce. Like, this is like being cheated upon. It's like finding out she's like fucking an accountant. I was so mad.
There's this.
You fuck a guy with a calculator on his desk? You didn't fuck a roadie for a Motley Crue? You fucked a guy with the calculator on his desk?
There's this little Guardians of the Galaxy book that he likes to read, and the first night he found it, I read it and I did voices, like I did Groot, and I tried to get him to do it with me. And I heard Andrea read it, and she was like, she just didn't do it. She just read it. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Don't take away this magic.
You failed the audition.
You bitch.
Or we have to thank them, because like when we come back and read the book, it's going to be fucking fire.
That's true. We're like new. That's true. We're the
It's like no one gives a shit about like Blue Lagoon until, DJ Pop-Tart remixes it, and everyone's like, oh, fuck. Yeah, neither here nor there. But it's a lovely framing for a movie, because when we get to the fantasy side, it allows them to shoot it differently. There is almost no realism to any moment. And again, because this is a fantasy, but it's set in the real world. They reference all these real world places. Yeah. But it's clearly unreal. But like, scenes that pop out in my head, like the climbing of the rope. It looks so silly. Yeah. But it's perfect for this kind of a tale, right? And so
it's in a kid's mind.
Exactly. It increases the effect, right? Or I think I heard someone refer to this term. It's a force multiplier effect.
Yeah,
when I get to the fantasy world, right?
Yeah.
Because we know it's these two loved ones sharing this tale. It can look however the fuck it wants. But yeah, so essentially this is a tale of Buttercup and the farm boy Wesley, who I guess she falls in. Her first kink is class shaming him.
Yeah. A lot of class shaming.
Yeah. Wipe my boots, farm boy.
Farm boy, wipe my saddle. I must see my face in it in the morning.
Yeah, she recognizes in him just a world-class submissive. That's all he does is go, as you wish. No safe words, no nothing. He's like, hey, shovel out that fucking horse shit. As you wish. Oh, God. Just pinching her butter nips or whatever. That's not how the story starts. But essentially, he goes off to make his fortunes because he doesn't realize his greatest sexual asset to her is a submission, right? So he goes off to make his fortunes, and he disappears. So she gets fucking usurped by Humperdinck. Wesley has to come back and save the lady, right? This is the tale that we're told. But even that like Prince of Darkness shot, right, where they introduce like Buttercup's gonna get married.
Yeah,
it's like, this is a day from the future. No, that's not what she says, but it's a Prince of Darkness shot, and I love it because it feels that to my brain, right? There are these movies from my childhood, right? This never-ending story and Legend. They set the actual tone for how I see and read fantasy.
Yeah.
Right? When I read a fantasy story, I don't imagine like the Lord of the Rings movies. I imagine Legend. I imagine The Princess Bride. That is the aesthetic of fantasy for my life now.
Same.
And it's wonderful. I'm going to say that word a lot this pod, so if you're drinking, stop.
Yeah. But it is wonderful.
Like, it's fucking wonderful. I mean, it's a purely joyous experience, which very few movies do. I think that's the thing
is like the movie doesn't lean into, because like if it was like, you think about movies that like if it was made now, it would really probably lean into like the meta narrative, like, and it's just so innocent. I guess that's the only way I could really put it. It's just like there's something so innocent about the way the story unfolds, and it's not necessarily a meta narrative. Like the cut-ins of the kid and grandpa are so like when he's It's like, cut her to the fire swamp. That sounded good. He goes, you sick, I'll humor you. Like that kind of stuff. Like those beats are so special and so specific. And it's like, it's not like now it would be done in this very cynical way and like almost too much like intrusion on like almost like a drunk history type thing, which is fun if you want that. But like the Princess
No,
Bride
the kid would be Wesley,
so
right?
special.
You would, do those kind of touches.
It's just a special movie.
It is one of those. It's so, because that's the thing. Even the circus performers that kidnap the princess, right? They kidnap Buttercup. These are essentially the three most iconic characters in the film, right?
Bar none.
We've all done
the
Inconceivable, right? Wallace Shawn. We've all done that 100 times, right?
Yep.
Inigo Montoya and Fezzik. I mean, you could just make... I can't believe they didn't just make a movie with them. I know Andre was in exceptionally bad health at this point.
Yeah.
The thing about Andre, too, if you watch the Andre doc on HBO, they talk to Rob Reiner and Billy Crystal as part of the doc, right? And one thing they talk about, they're like, he really, truly was just this gentle giant. Like the most loving, sweet... Robin... what's her name? Robin Wright?
Robin Wright. At that point, she was just Robin Wright. I think she's back to being Robin Wright, too.
Robin Wright? Yeah, so she talked about how it was raining, right? And so Andre took his gigantic fucking hand and just covered her head so she'd stay warm in the rain. And they talked to... Rob Reiner tells this great story. He's like, I looked up and Andre would drink like a case of wine just to like start the day. And so he's like, I had this because his back was so bad he couldn't do anything.
Well,
so
he
like
had just gotten major back surgery.
Yeah, the fight scene was an extra. He couldn't catch Robin Wright in his arms for fear that his back would go.
So she was on cables.
So that's why that shot looks so angelic, right?
Yeah.
But there's a story, and Rob Reiner's just like, he's like, I looked up and I had this 500-pound drunken giant who's just going, hello, boss. And he's like, what a wonderful line of work that But they talked about, because Carrie Elways tells this story about how sad it was. He's like, everyone wants to ask you about drinking with Andre.
Yeah.
And he's like, he tells the story, he's like, no, like that would be impossible. He's like, one time he fell asleep on the floor in a hotel and he's just too big to move. So it's like, that's just where, and it was sad. He was numbing the pain. So knowing the backstory of how bad it had gotten for Andre, and if you watch wrestling at that time, he couldn't work anymore.
Well, no,
right? Like the fact that he physically let Hulk Hogan slam him was a big deal because he was in horrible health.
Yeah.
But the fact that all that fucking pain he's suffering. And the other thing, he didn't want to be a heel to Hulk Hogan. He was always like not a bad guy.
Yeah.
Right? And so that was hard for him to have fans booing him at the end of his career and this and that. But to do that, and then there is a pantheon of like most lovable characters in a movie for me, right? And like Fezzik and John Coffey, there's a couple. Fezzik's like John Coffey to me is like the most lovable character I've ever seen in a movie. Like the one you want to save the truly most, right? There's a pantheon. But Fezzik in this movie is so fucking lovely. Right?
He's the best.
And
he's the best.
It makes me cry every time I watch it because I love that man so much and I love this character so much. But that moment when, fucking Wesley's all fucked up from the machine.
Yeah.
And he's just like, you moved your head. Isn't that great? And he goes, we have a thing to fight. He's like, does that matter? And he's like, hey, you should be proud of yourself. And it just tears me up, man. It's because he's not just this. If you made this today, again, you'd get like some big brutish guy. He's just this lovely guy who happens to be a giant.
When they're fighting, so after
the trial of the three trials is like
3 trials.
phenomenal.
So after he gets through Montoya, which
I
again,
thought I was going fast. All right, we'll do it at Montoya after this.
Yeah, but it is one of my all-time favorite scenes in a movie when they're fighting, and he's just trying to choke him, and they just have this very gentlemanly conversation. Like again,
when you fight 6 minutes, you have different moves. I know why I'm struggling with you.
That's why this movie is so special because like it is just innocence. Like it's so fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. In this movie, you are the Brute Squad. I'm on the Brute Squad. You are the Brute Squad. I just love him. Like like him trying to like plant Wesley on the suit of armor so he can go and open the door for Inigo. And then he does it and he just like motions for him to go in like he's a valet and then runs back to get. He's just like, oh. I'm so glad that he got to have this as part of his legacy.
Yeah.
I think this will reach the icon of him as a wrestler is pop culture for sure. Yeah. But this will help keep him in a form that we all love.
This is a child. This is something that everyone can see. Like, there's wrestling is cool for a certain amount of the population. There's no way you can't see The Princess Bride and not remember Fezzik. Fezzik is in your brain.
No, even him like trying to like bring back Inigo when he's on his, drunk.
Yeah.
I love him, and it means a lot to me. And on a bad day, I want to spend time with Fezzik, right? Like it really has come to attach itself to my happy place. So I'm just glad that existed for him, especially with how bad of health he was in.
Yeah.
Could have gone a different way. I'm glad that he got this in his career. Now, Inigo Montoya, just the absolute goddamn MVP of the movie. I mean,
it's Mandy Patinkin is unbelievable. Like,
he's so good. He's so good.
He's never not good. Mandy Patinkin's unbelievable. Like it's so cool to watch.
Yeah, he to me is one of the funnest in the movie, right? His again, but he has this gentlemanly, honorable thing.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Wesley's duel is just awesome. It's a really fun throwback to like golden era Hollywood scene.
Yeah, and this is like
someone was telling me. I think it was Weinman, right? You guys have heard Weinman on the pod. He told me they had like an armorer or a sword master like go through movies and say what had the most realistic sword fight. And it was this scene from Princess Bride. They had one of the most accurate fight scenes in a. I guess him and Carrie Elwes really like put the time in, and really got ready for this. So I thought that was a cool tidbit.
I mean, that makes
that's
sense
secondhand.
too,
it might be horseshit, but
but that makes sense too because like
they're fighting with those little weenie swords. So yeah, maybe
rapiers. There's rapiers, fencing.
Yeah. They're not fencing swords exactly, but they're little like that. They were not brute force swords.
But like this is 1980s Mandy Patinkin, who like let's see, he won a Tony for Evita, and then he won a Tony for Sundays in the Park with George, and he's done Yentl and Ragtime at this point. So like, this is probably the biggest movie he's done today. This is the biggest like stage he's had.
When his career is over, this is the movie.
This is the thing he'll be
number one, but billing, yeah.
I mean, it's
Inigo
beautiful.
Montoya. But no, I mean, he has that wonderful little talk, right, where it's like, this man came and commissioned a sword. He killed my father. I was 11. I tried to take him out. I couldn't. I committed my life to learning fencing, right? The moments when we come back to him, and he's lost, and he's just drunk, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he's like, we need the man in black, right? Like, I know where this six-fingered fuck is.
Yeah.
You're really pulling for that, right? He's so charming because he's like, we have the man in black, right? And, the man in black's all fucked up and can't do anything. But he still is believing. When he finally gets his showdown with Count Rogan.
Yeah. Awesome.
When the first time he says the line and they get so fucking close on his face, it's euphoric.
Yeah.
Right? And then it's, of course, Rogan, dirty shots him. And you think he's done, right? He's like, Father, I have failed you. I'm sorry. And it's gut-wrenching, right? Well, then he stands up, and it's almost as if his arm is divinely defending the sword strikes. When he just keeps repeating,
Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father.
You killed my father. Prepare to die. He just keeps repeating that as he's getting more and more emboldened in the sword fight. I mean, it's one of my favorite things in a movie. Because then he goes, offer me money. Offer me power. And he's like, anything you want. And he goes, I want my father back, you son of a bitch. Oh, I mean, come on, dude. It's so fucking righteous. Yeah, it's like a bring the house down moment. And, I mean, Mandy Patinkin just fucking crushes this role. To me, he is if I was to show someone, like, do you like Princess Bride? The scene would almost assuredly have him and Fezzik in it.
Yeah. 1,000%. There's no way you could watch it without. There's no way.
There are some people that might just get their fill from Wesley and Buttercup, but I think these two are the backbone of the movie.
I mean, I think this is the really fascinating thing about The Princess Bride and like what makes the movie special is like you have these exceptional looking people as the two leads of this fantasy story.
Yeah,
but
I always forget Carrie Elwes was so fucking beautiful.
Ridiculously handsome.
Like insanely handsome.
I was watching it last night with Andrea, and I was like,
Robin
Jesus
Wright too,
Christ.
but
yeah, but I was watching it last night with Andrea, and I was like, Jesus Christ, and she's like, what? And I'm like, Carrie Elwes is so fucking hot. Holy shit.
Yeah, he made a weird choice because I think a lot of people my age and younger, it was like he was the guy in Saw.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
It's like,
yeah, absolutely.
I think that was a lot of people's first. And like, you go back to this, you're like, Jesus Christ, no wonder the farm boy was getting wop everywhere. He can be covered in whatever he wants, dude. The shine is there.
Absolutely. I mean, again, every time he looks at the camera, as you wish, you're like, oh, jeez.
Nips get a little hard. You're like, oh my God. Oh, please do that. Do declare.
Oh, the vapors.
Dude, pray tell. Pray tell. Pray tell. What do I wish? Pray tell. No, I felt it.
Yeah.
Palpable energy.
But like, as hot as him and Robin Wright are, it is about Vizzini, Fezzik, Inigo Montoya. Like, these are the characters that we like. You always
Miracle
remember.
Max, like the side characters.
Miracle Max,
so
these side
good.
characters are unbelievable. Like, I think that's the power of this story too, is that Rob Reiner, having read the source material, Rob Reiner knew, I can't just make this about two hot people running through this fake country. Like, it's got to be about these great characters that like fill
It's
the
got
world.
this
and make the
classic
world feel
D&D
real.
adventure.
Absolutely.
The difference is that in a real D&D game, everyone would be raping and pillaging and murdering. That's the murder hobo thing, right? Every group eventually descends into criminals. But yeah, it's got this great mix of characters and vibe. And again, everyone gets this really rewarding payoff, it feels like.
Yeah, everybody has a happy ending, except for the bad guys. Bad guys don't, but that's expected.
But even the bad
Also,
guy,
by
like
the way,
they don't kill Humperdinck, right? They don't. They do kill Count Rogan. He kind of had to go. He was the one that could not survive.
Count Rogan had to go because he had already killed. Very important.
Yeah. So Humperdinck just gets ashamed and put away.
Yeah.
But I just think about a lot of these moments.
Another key casting, Chris Sarandon, by the way.
Oh, he's fucking great as Humperdinck. He's so fucking good and duplicitous. Wonderful fucking performance by him as Humperdinck. I knew you were bluffing. See, I do. Oh, I do. I was just saying. It's so good. Couple other things we got to get to. The creature work. Surprisingly fun creature work.
That rat scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
Yeah, that and the eels. The eels are really grotesque looking.
Eels were fucking gross, yeah.
So that was cool. The shrieking eels, and then the rodents of unusual size. What about the ruts? Or the routs? The rodents of unusual size? I think they're a myth. And he just gets fucking speared. But yeah, they're nasty looking, man.
Dude,
but again,
that was some grotesque
that's the thing.
shit.
As a young person, that was my link in, was Andre the Giant and creatures. I loved anything with the, creature suit kind of vibe. Every movie like that I loved. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was a really fun addition. The Fire Swamp in general is just fucking fun.
Fire Swamp's a great bit. Yeah,
right?
Totally.
The quicksand and the fires. Yeah. So the creature work was a nice touch. All right, now we got to kind of we got to wax poetic about Wesley and Buttercup. The grandiose romance of it, the writing of this is so fucking sharp. Yeah. The as you wish, right? And she goes, but you were dead. And he goes, death can't stand in the way of something like true love.
Right.
Again, other than him fucking for sure winding up to give her the powder. So perfect. So perfect, right?
There's this really, and I think what's great is like the way.
What does she say? She said to him when she was the Dread Pirate Robber, she's like, "You killed me, or you killed my love." He goes, another spoiled rich boy. She goes, "No, he was poor and perfect, ... and submissive as shit."
The thing that I love about the Wesley and Buttercup thing is the way it's framed in the beginning. You're like, oh wow, it is. Yeah, there's like this weird kink of class shaming and that kind of shit. When he comes back,
wash my buttocks.
When he comes back as the Dread Pirate, like, is there no finer a scene, love recognizing love, than when she like pushes him down that hill and he says, "I'm like,
As
Christ.
you wish. And she goes,
wish.
Wesley, and throws
Listen,
herself
my love,
down
what have I
the hill.
done? Like, that is some fucking prime writing
Well, he
shit.
slides
That's
over
William
to her. What is
Goldman
he?
Gold.
He's like, "Are you alive?" It's like- and then they just like embrace a kiss. It's fucking great, man. But again, that's what he talks about. And he's like, it doesn't matter. You know, we'll always be all right because we have each other.
Yeah.
And she offers him up, right? Because she doesn't, want him to get killed. He goes to the pit of the despair, right? Mm-hmm. But I love that thing, right? Where she's just like, I will never fail to believe again. I will always believe. So even after she gives him over to Humperdinck, on some level, I think she knows that he's going to die, right? Because she has these nightmares about, you're the queen of refuse.
Yeah.
Right? And then she goes to Chris Sarandon. He's like, just please consider me as an alternative to suicide. Jeez. She knows that he didn't send the fucking notes, right? She's hip to his bullshit.
Yeah.
But because of what she learned that day, she knows that Wesley will come no matter what. Not death, not anything will stop him. What we learn in the movie, though, is that he's going to die but a year later because he's lost 51 years off the bat.
Yeah, that's true. Not great.
If science is to be believed, right? That they sucked the life out of this guy. So she better have some other attractive farm boys on standby. But that's not as romantic.
Neither here nor there.
Yeah. But
fleeting
I love her
romance.
just fully believing, right? And when he comes to save her and he's like still fucking paralyzed, it's just funny, right? I love her floating into Fezzik's arms and them riding off. That last shot with them like fully behind like the fucking trashy dime store novel background, just the sun and everything behind them perfectly. And even Fred Savage is like, it's all right. I want to hear this one.
I want to hear this part.
Yeah. Now he's into marriage.
And then you see that Peter Falk.
Yeah. Me too, son. Me too.
Peter Falk is so.
The amount of times I've hit it to this page exactly, I feel ya, boy.
The amount of times I've read it to a broad and gotten laid, unbelievable.
Yeah,
That's not what Peter Falk sounds like, but.
Hey, oh. I mean, hey, I don't get paid for impressions. You know what I mean? But, no, it's just, they are kind of this perfect bread and butter for the movie to where then we can layer all this other fun stuff on. You know, we didn't talk about Vizzini at all. We forgot about him and the three heads.
We didn't, but to be honest with you, like, here's the thing about Wallace Shawn. Wallace Shawn is so iconic. Like,
right.
What can we say that would have improved on
we
what
used to, when we were young, we played a lot of board games.
Yeah.
We would use his line all the fucking time to insult each other. Whenever, like, even if you were playing Monopoly, right, and someone bought, like, the third train track, we'd be like, you've made the classic blunder, right?
Yeah.
Never start a land war in Asia. We used to say that shit all the time. But he is, that scene with the poison, I love that, man. That is so fucking great.
It's one of my favorite, like, it's one of those.
So you made your decision. I'm just getting started.
I think that might be the first scene I ever saw of this movie, because that is the one that I recall the most. Not just because it's probably most iconic, but like that scene probably was the first thing I saw from this movie. Like walking into like a TV viewing of it, because most of us saw this stuff when it was like popped up on TV.
Right.
So I think that was the first time I saw this.
Yeah, he's fucking awesome. Billy Crystal is Miracle Max, awesome. I mean, this is the thing. We could just go through every single actor and say they were awesome.
There's
Christopher
nothing about
Guest, awesome.
Yeah, everybody is perfectly cast, perfectly, like, it's a pitch perfect thing. Like, it is one of the rare occasions we've watched movies, really, and been like, need we say anything other than, like, again, like, right before this, I was like, is this like a 5-minute pod of, like, it was great.
Yeah,
that's the end.
Isn't that about damn near as per? I mean, I guess if you don't have the attachment to, like, the younger you.
Perhaps. But
if you see it now, I could see, like, a little bit of cynicism sliding in. But even that, right? Take out the cheesiness of the fantasy, right?
Sure.
To your point, this is Rob Reiner making a movie that is about a father sharing stories with his son. That comes from a very personal place for him, clearly.
Yeah.
We all can relate to a parent sharing a story with us or wanting to share that with a loved one, grandparent, whoever.
Yeah.
Right? It is this, we just want to share something that reminds ourselves of the good things in life, the magical things in life, right?
Right.
And so I do hope that this movie is cynic proof. I mean, nothing is, right? I'm sure there's someone out there, if you went on Letterboxd, someone rips into this movie.
Sure.
Right? And if I ever met them, I would physic them. Right? I would show no sportsmanship, and I would physic a rock at their fucking kneecaps.
I would straight up Montoya their ass for sure.
Yeah. Me and Alex will show up, and you'll have to beat us. And we'll have to find a smart person to beat Vicini. But
somebody. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll find someone smart who can do that kind of shit. But
I'm sure my kid could be Vicini.
Yeah. Our kids are smarter than us. It'll be a 3-headed Vicini.
For sure. 1,000%.
But yeah, I do think for most people, it is a disarming invitation to remember the good things.
Yeah.
I think hopefully. That's what it is for me. It's like some people do the warm bath, man. This is like a warm bath for me.
Yeah. I think this is the thing is you have to let that it's a fantasy story. And I think that's a lot of the time when you get older, it's harder to watch movies like this that are good-natured because you're trying to find the grime. You're trying to find the dirt, because we live in a pretty dirty world sometimes. I think what's really nice about The Princess Bride is watching this movie, and I thought about this because we watched it last night. And I thought about it last night. I was like, I don't think this is nostalgia talking. Like, this movie is legitimately just a wonderful movie because it's very good and very well made. And like I said at the beginning of the pod, timeless. Like there is not a lot in this movie that doesn't just stay in its pocket. It's just beautiful moment in time, man. That's all.
Yeah. It just has wonderful moment after moment after more moment with these fucking wonderful performances that are inviting you to be part of the troupe. Right? And again, for me there is some extra, like I will always be that attached to Fezzik. Like these things just matter to me a lot. But I think if you're a younger or newer viewer, my hope is that the magic is not lost upon you.
Yeah.
Right? And like Peter Falk said, right? It's a movie you want to have your grandpa read you again. And he'll say, as you wish. And I my hope is that it's still transportative like that, which I think it is, man. My kids watched it with me, and I had to finish it because we were doing the pod right when Hunter was at school. And he came back and I was like, hey, maybe we could watch a movie tonight. And he goes, well, yeah, we got Princess Bride. I'm like, oh, I finished it. And he goes, what? He was fucking mad at me.
See, there it is, man.
So today after this, I'm going to go watch the end of Princess because we ended right at the fire swamp and he was furious at me.
Oh, dude.
So hopefully, of the things I have offered them from my childhood, I think this is one that'll stick.
That's heartwarming. See, that makes me feel very good.
I don't want a Willow thing. I remember the first time I showed them Willow and they're like, I don't get it. And I legitimately was like, Dad's got to go get a pack of cigarettes. Like I was this close. My own sons don't appreciate Willow. We tried to watch that TV show, but I was like, I really don't want to ruin Willow for them. So we turned it off after 2 episodes. But neither here nor there. I think Princess Bride will be the fairy tale story for us for ages. So that's it. Welcome to the month of Amour, right? Just a little soft, buttery kiss for your ears every week of February.
Every week of February.
Yeah, Alex, what's on deck? What are we talking about next week?
See, next week we are talking about. Oh man, what are the ones we already went over this last week? The other night, didn't we?
So we have Big Fish.
Big Fish.
We have The Notebook, and we have Pride and Prejudice. Those are the months.
I think we're doing Pride. I think we do Pride and Prejudice next week.
Fair enough.
Big Fish the week after that, and then we end the month with Le Notebook.
Le Notebook, man.
It's actually I've not figured out how to program the Notebook properly into this pod yet, and this was like the moment. And I'm like, I think
there's a real like onslaught of Nicholas Sparks era that we all remember. So it'll be interesting to go back, hopefully without the venom.
That's the one that's real nostalgic for me.
So that's the month of Amour. If you want more awesome episodes that aren't Amourish, go over to patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. We have some exclusive episodes over there, commentaries, mini-series. We work really hard to make it worth your time to support the show. So if you would be so kind, patreon.com/filmalchemistpod for more awesome shenanigans. So make sure to go do that. Subscribe to the YouTube Film Alchemist. Email us, filmalchemistpod@gmail.com. We're on all the socials you're on. We would appreciate it if you would share everything, follow all that kind of stuff. Make sure you leave 5-star ratings and reviews wherever you are. And I didn't do it at the start. I forgot. But we're going to ask you our 2023 plea. If you enjoy what we're doing here, and you obviously have other people in your life who love movies, right? Send one of them a text with an episode, right? Email them, DM them, something. Tell them to come check out just one episode of the show, and we'll take it from there, guys. We are trying to spread the word this year. Ponzi scheme the shit out of this thing so we can go live in a far-off land.
Yeah, give us our Madoff moment.
Yeah, and whip rocks at each other. That's the life we'll
get away with it.
Yeah, so that's it, guys. Share the episode with someone that you cherish, please. For the Film Alchemist, I'm Josh Griffey.
I'm Alex D'Andino.
Bye!